ladies, welcome back to my channel. I know it has been quite a while, but I have been having so much going on behind the scenes as far as trying to start this new stuff and branch off with some new things coming. You guys know that I have my website almost up and running. I have started doing pedicure, so stay tuned for those tutorials. And yeah, it's just been a lot on the business side, but we're back now, so that's all that matters. And as you can tell by the caption of the video, we're going to be doing a white on white French tip. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and turn on the bell. That way you know every single time I post. And yeah, once we hit 500 subscribers, I'm doing a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, as you can see, same old, same old. I start off by pushing back the cuticles, and then I go around the cuticles with my cone drill bit, and this just exposes the entire nail and gets rid of all of the dead skin cells, any nitty gritty. Just completely cleans out that cuticle area, giving us a very clean start. And then I'm taking my sanding band, which is a 180 grit, and I'm making sure to go over the entire natural nail to get rid of the natural shine. And that's really important because when you go to glue on the nails and start to apply the acrylic, if there are any natural oils on the nail, it will really hinder the adherence of the acrylic, and overall that'll just cut your retention rate down by a lot. So it might seem small, but it's a big step that you want to make sure that you don't skip out on. So I went ahead and glued the tips on, and she's doing like a medium long length. So she wanted to keep the square. So as you can see, I'm just going on the sides of the nails, filing at a 90-degree angle, keeping those nice and straight. And then I am touching up the free edge, filing straight up and down, 90-degree angle again. Square is usually the easiest shape to file. It can be tedious because you can definitely spot, an error when you are filing square. Like it just you look at it and it has to be perfectly square. But overall, essentially, it is one of the easier shapes to do. Especially if you have the pre-shaped nail tips, which will be available on my website here soon, so make sure you stay tuned. But another thing, as you've seen, I flipped my client's hand around. It is very important to make sure that you're looking at the nails from different angles after every step, just to make sure that everything is truly the way that you want it to be, because looking at it from one view may not always show you any flaws that you would see if you looked at it from a different point of view. So I like to always do that after doing all of my steps, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. You'd rather be safe than sorry. And so now I'm taking that same sanding band and I am just blending the nail tip with the natural nail. And this is really important because it helps prevent lifting, and also, like I said earlier, helps with that retention rate. And I do like to file the entire nail tip. That is totally optional, but I do that because I found that it feels like it makes the acrylic easier to apply, honestly. Like, I don't feel like it's as runny. I don't feel like I have to do much as far as keeping it on the nail. There are other steps that you have to follow when applying the acrylic, but overall, I feel like when you are applying the acrylic to a nail tip that it has been filed with the sanding band, it adheres easily. It goes on better. So I don't know, it's totally optional, but try it if you want. And so now I'm putting on the Mia Secret Dehydrator. This is just another layer of getting rid of those natural oils, which is, like I said, super important. And now I'm going in with Young Nails Protein Bond. Both of these can be found off Amazon. The Young Nails Protein Bond is literally what it's called. It's a bond, which will help the acrylic bond to the nail. Super important steps if you want those. Like I said, they can be found on Amazon, and they're very price friendly. Most of the stuff that I use is, besides my acrylics, but that's another story. So yeah, I cannot even tell you the last time that I had a client complain about lifting, and definitely can't tell you when the last time I've had a client break, like had a nail pop off. If they have, it's been totally because of them, and they will say that. So I definitely recommend those two products. They're really heaven sent. And so as you can see, I already did the pinky. I don't know what had happened with that part of the video, but we're going to move on. We got 4 more fingers to go, so that's all that matters. So as you can see, I started with applying one bead and I just lightly feathered it down. And normally I work with medium-sized beads. I don't like to work with too small of beads because then you're going to be using bead after bead after bead. And me personally, I do not like to work with larger beads because I feel like it's easier for it to just get messy, in my opinion. So I just like to work with medium sized beads, and normally I only use about 3 to 4 beads, but that is just totally my preference. I do say work with less than more, only because it's easier to add on acrylic than it is to take it off in the end. So, and also working with less helps you keep everything neat and clean. So I usually do about 3 to 4 beats, like I said. On this nail, as you can see, I'm probably going to do about 4 or 5. So I just start my way from the bottom and work my way up to the cuticle. It's super easy to have your acrylic dry or run off the nail, or just, it's super easy to make a mistake here. So that is why I try to work, like I said, with a smaller amounts of acrylic, and I take my time in applying it. That way everything can be nice and neat. I can have a nice apex, I can keep my shape and have less filing to do. So, if you feel like you need more than 3 or 4 beads, go for it. Like, totally go for it. Look at your nails from different angles, especially from the side view, and see if you need to add more acrylic. And if you do, definitely add. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So, now, as you can see, I'm applying my first bead near the free edge. I'm making sure to wipe the sides of the nails and wipe the free edge. And like I said, this just helps me keep my shape. It helps me really eliminate a lot of filing time, because by the time I get the filing, it's still nice and neat. So I don't really have much to do, thanks to keeping my application pretty neat. Now, for the second bead, I do like to place it right at where the nail tip and the natural nail meet. And this is literally the most important part of the entire nail. If a nail is going to break, it's going to break here. And that is because you have to think of that kind of like the root or the heart of the set. Because without that nail tip being glued on right there, you don't have a nail. So it doesn't matter how much acrylic you put at the free edge of the nail or at the cuticle of the nail, right there is where it matters most, because that is the heart. That's where it all started. That's the root. So that is the most important part that you want to focus on when applying your acrylic. It's called the apex. And so something that a lot of people don't pay attention to or think about is they think that as long as they just make their nails super thick and load it with acrylic and think, okay, there's a lot of acrylic, these nails won't break. And that's not always true. You don't have to waste your product. You don't have to spend time building up a very thick nail when all you need to do is focus on the apex. That is the most important part. And as long as you have a good foundation, as long as your apex is good, obviously you can't have, super thin nails everywhere else along the nail, but you just want to make sure that you are focusing on the apex, because as long as that is built and the rest of your foundation is good, you're good. You don't need the fat nails. You don't need the extra acrylic to keep your nails from breaking, okay? So I just wanted to throw that out there. As you can see, I am also making sure to constantly wipe around the skin and the cuticles. I literally do that every single set, every single client, every single day, every single fingernail. Like, literally, y'all, I preach by that. You have to make sure that you're wiping around the skin and wiping around the cuticles. And I say that because it is so easy for acrylic to slip over or leak over, run over, whatever term you want to use, and that will cause lifting for sure. So making sure that you have no acrylic on the skin and no acrylic on the sides of the nails is very important. It will cause lifting, like I said, and when the nail starts to grow out, I have, like, in my past when I first started, and I used to do that because it's such a common mistake. Like, if you do that, don't beat yourself up about it, because it's so easy to do. But just remember that you just want to make sure that you're wiping it clean. But as I was saying, when I first started, I actually had some clients say that it would hurt when it would grow out, because the acrylic would be so risen that it would be scratching their cuticle area. So definitely make sure that you are wiping around the cuticle area and the skin, making sure everything is just nice and neat. Another thing that I like to recommend is when you're placing the cuticle bead, to prevent that from happening, you want to place it underneath the cuticle. You do not want to place it right on top of the cuticle, right at the cuticle. You want to place it just slightly underneath, which you will see I'm going to do with this next bead. And you do that because as you feather it down, it will push up just enough to fall right where it needs to fall. So as you can see, I'm placing it right underneath the cuticle. I still have space there, as you can see, perfect view. And I'm just lightly feathering it down, spreading out the acrylic. And as you can see, it does push up right to where I need it to be. And so I go ahead and wipe the sides of the nails, make sure I wipe all the acrylic off the skin. And I do this even if I know for 100% fact that there's no acrylic right there, I still do it. Rather be safe than sorry. You'd be surprised where the acrylic can sneak. And so I do end up adding just another bead in the same spot. And I just do that because sometimes I like to make the acrylic a little bit thicker right there, just a tad. And if I feel like I didn't get it close enough to where I wanted it to be, then I just add another bead and do it again, and it falls perfect. So that's just me, like I said, being safe rather than sorry. And so you just want to get into the habit of doing that, and you'll definitely see a difference when it comes to how long your nails last. So yeah, I'm just cleaning around that area, and as you can see, the method I'm doing right here, I am like patting it into the cuticle. I've noticed that that really helps with my retention and my lifting as well. It's totally optional, you don't have to do that. It's just something that I started to do, and I've seen a difference, so I just have stuck with it. But like I said, it's totally optional. And by the way, the color acrylic that I'm using is called Snowflake, I believe, and it's by a brand that you can find on Instagram called Sugar and Cream, or Oh Snap Beauty Supply. They're the same thing. I don't know why I think it's like two brands in one, or two different people running it from the same brand, but it's such a good brand. I do recommend that you guys check it out. I use it all the time, and I say this in every video that you guys should check out the acrylics. They're like butter. Like, as you can see, I'm not having any trouble applying them. There's no running off the sides of the nails. You don't see any acrylic getting dry at any point. Like, it's definitely worth the buy. The shipping is pretty fast. And no, this is not like a paid sponsorship or anything. I just really love the acrylics that much. I actually use their brushes as well, which the one I'm using now is a size 8. I like to use the smallest size. I just feel like I work better with the smaller brush, but that is just me. They have plenty of sizes on there to choose from. They are a little pricey, but it's so worth it. Like, I order from there all the time, and I don't think twice about what I spend. And if you are someone that's on a budget, they do have like payment plan options offered through a few different companies, so that's a plus. But yeah, enough about that. Just go check them out. I love them. So yeah, we are just finishing up the acrylic application. As you can see, I'm taking that cuticle bead and placing it right underneath, and I just slowly pat it up and feather it down, and it falls perfectly into place. And another thing that I forgot to mention is, when you are applying the acrylic, something that took me such a long time to understand, which I guess after doing nails for so long, I just kind of got it, was when you're applying the acrylic, you don't need a lot of pressure. You just feather it down. You don't pull, you don't drag, you don't tug, you don't press down too hard. You literally just feather it down and gravity, let gravity do the rest. I don't know why I struggled so bad with this. I used to literally take 30 to 40 minutes on each hand for the application. Now I take about 10 or 15, so it does make a difference. But as you can see, this is the finished result of the application, period. Super nice and neat. Like, literally, y'all, I could put a clear coat and she could leave. That's the goal every time. But now I'm just going back in and cleaning up the shape. And as you can see, I don't spend a lot of time on this at all, because like I said, when you keep your application nice and neat, everything else just falls into place. It saves you so much time. So I just like to clean up the shape just in case any acrylic, did get a little lumpy or bumpy on the sides of the nails, especially since, as I said, I do wipe the sides of the nails and the free edge. So sometimes some acrylic can get pushed up underneath the nail. So that's why I like to file again, as well as you can see, filing underneath the sides of the nails. That's really important too, because you'll definitely, just because you can't see it from up top does not mean that you can't see it from the sides or the bottom. You will. It will not be straight and nice and neat. It'll be all jagged. So you do want to make sure that you're filing on the sides and underneath the sides of the nails. You don't have to do too much. As you can see, I'm just literally taking my file and swiping it on the sides just a few times. And also, as you can see, I am filing the free edge again. That is another part that's really important. No matter how clean you keep your application, you're always going to want to go back over that, because when you're pressing the acrylic at the free edge, cleaning it up, of course some acrylic is going to get underneath it there, and just overall, getting a nice, crisp, clean shape, it's important to go back and file over that. But as you can see, I'm literally only spending about 30 to 60 seconds on each finger, if that. I don't even think I spend that. Probably more like 15 seconds, because I kept it nice and neat and clean. You want to make sure that you're pulling your client's skin back, because these files will cut. I use 80 grit, and yeah, super sharp, but they get the job done. My shape be on point. Like everybody, if you know, you know. Go to my IG and check me out. That'll be listed below. But the shape be on point. And it has to be, because, it doesn't matter what design you do. If your foundation, if your nails are lumpy and bumpy and just not up to par as far as application and shape and cleanliness, like all of that matters. It doesn't matter what design you have. If the rest looks bad, the whole set's going to look bad. So just keep that in mind. Shaping plays a big part. Like a lot of people have booked me just off shaping. So I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm far from the best, but I do take pride in my shaping. I take pride in my work overall, but especially the shaping. So get you some good files. The ones that I have are from Amazon. They were really cheap. I think I got like 12 or 20 for like $10 or something like that. Super cheap. Yeah, and invest in yourself, girl. Get you some good files and tear the shaping up. But anyways, now I am sealing the cuticles and filing over the nail, just smoothing everything out. Sealing the cuticles is super important, because that is like the top off from making sure that your nails are not going to lift. That's just making sure that it's nice and packed into the cuticle. It's not too big, not too fat. You don't have any acrylic where it shouldn't be. That is just really important when it comes to, like I said, preventing lifting and overall just the quality of the nails. And then of course, after application, you want to file the entire nail. The goal here is not to take off any acrylic, really. It's just to smooth the acrylic out. So you don't want to apply too much pressure, and you want to make sure that you're keeping the file moving, because if you leave it in one spot for too long, it will burn because of friction, and you might end up putting a dent in the nail while you were trying to get the dents out. So I usually just use a fine drill bit when I do that, and it gets the job done. And now I'm just taking my buffer. I buff the entire nail from cuticle to free edge, side to side, and I also like to do the underneath, because it just gets all of that extra dust, and gets rid of any scratches, anything that could be left on there from the drill. And I do flip the nails over one last time, just give them a nice look, make sure everything is how I want it to be. And then I have my clients wash their hands after applying cuticle oil, which I don't show that part, because it's not nothing to put some cuticle oil on the cuticles and tell them to wash their hands. So yeah, so now she's back with nice and clean hands, and we're ready to start the design. So I am going ahead, sorry, and applying the gel polish for the French tip, and I like to just get my base down. So what I mean by that is, I didn't show that part, but you'll see it on the rest of the fingers. I like to, wherever I want to start my French tip at, I just, as far as like this is kind of sounds confusing, but I like to go down the sides of the nails, each side, and create a straight line, and that just kind of gives me like my outline. And then I just go ahead and make my loop and connect the French tip. It definitely sounds confusing when I'm explaining it after I've already done it, so I can't really show y'all, but we're gonna see here. So I skipped the ring finger because that's going to be a bling nail. So yeah, as you can see, that's where I want my French to start. So I drew one straight line down. I'm going to even it out and draw the other line straight down. So now we have my base. I know how wide, I guess, I want it to be. And now I'm going to start from one side and go ahead and bring it down to as deep as I want it or don't want it. And once I have where that's going to be, I go ahead and start to bring it over. So some people like to do their French tips super low or super high or whatever the case may be, and it does vary per client. Some, and per length. I feel like some lengths you have to do a certain type of French tip, but this is how she wanted hers. So I went ahead, and it might sound hard, like, oh my God, how do you make sure that it's in the right spot every single nail? You get into the flow of it, especially after doing it the first, for the first finger. It's not as hard as it looks. It's not simple. People always say, I just want a simple French. Friendship is not simple by any means, but it isn't necessarily hard to do once you practice it a lot. So, yeah, as you can see, I just went ahead and filled in the rest with the polish, and here we are with the next one. The white on white has like really been trendy, and I love it. I'm actually doing another set like that today, but short. Um, I love it a lot. It's just so, like, I don't know, the vibe. It just is so clean. But French tip, believe it or not, y'all, took me so long to learn, and I still sometimes get a little insecure about my French tips. Even though my clients love them, I don't know. I feel like that with a lot of stuff, though. You always are a little too harsh on yourself. So that's me for sure, especially when it comes to my business. I just always feel like I can be doing better, but that keeps you on your toes. It's not always a bad thing to feel like that. So, but yeah, back to the tutorial. Anyways, I went ahead and drew my lines again and made my French. Filled it in, and of course, you always have to go in and clean up the French tip. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I just always feel like I have to go back in and make sure it's super, super straight. So I don't know if I showed that on the video, but after I go ahead and do the French tip on all the nails for this hand, I do like to go back before curing, and I just make sure that the French tip is neat, or as neat as I want it to be. And I only say that because I've noticed that when I try to make sure that if it's clearly messed up, I'll either just completely redo it or fix it. But if it's like, okay, that looks good, move on to the next one, I definitely do that, and then I go back and look at it, because after doing it, it sometimes can be hard to notice a flaw. So I feel like I just do it as neat and clean as I can, and if it looks good, I go on to the rest, and then I go back and double check it, because I feel like it just, like I said, makes it easier for me to spot a flaw, like, oh, this one's a little crooked, or needs a little bit more polish here, or straightened up here, whatever the case may be. And sometimes I don't need that. Sometimes I do. Totally okay, because I'm not a magician. We all make mistakes and have things that we need to fix sometimes. So if you're someone that's like feeling like you're having a hard time with your French tips, just keep practicing, please. As you can see right here, I see, like, I'm like, oh Lord, no, that needs to be fixed right away. But once you get the hang of it, I'm telling you, you'll be so great at it. And I do like to go back and wipe the sides, just the undersides. You don't want it to completely take the polish off, but you do want to wipe the undersides of the nails just in case any polish has, leaked over, and then you go ahead and cure for 60 seconds. And then, so now, like I said, this is going to be a bling nail, so I just went ahead and applied my Macart rhinestone glue onto the nail, and I do use like an old brush to just smooth it out and make it nice and flat. I don't like applying anything on the glue when it's like not spread out. I just feel like it really affects the placement, and then if the jewels start to slide, because the glue was so thick over here, and now the gem has glue all inside, it just gets messy to me. So I just like to make it nice and even, that way when whatever I apply goes on, it's nice and even. And so as you can see, I just poured the pixie crystals over, and then I did dip my brush in acetone before touching the client's skin with it, because of course, it had glue on it, rhinestone glue. So I cleaned the brush off, and I just like to pat down the sides and the free edge, as well as the cuticle area, to make sure that everything applied nice and neat. And I like to pat down, just to make sure that there aren't any like lumpy spots in the pixie crystals. So we have that all nice and set. When that cures, that will be good to go. Now I'm applying my no wipe gel top coat, and this is by Koopa. I got it off Amazon. Love it, really love it. Like, there's nothing even more to say. I just really love it. So I go ahead and apply the top coat, and I wipe the sides again just to make sure that I'm keeping that shape. Because like I said, especially when working with gel, it is easy for the polish to kind of start to run, and now don't got a super clean shape. And this is the very last step. This is a tip, y'all. I'm putting y'all on a sack. After you cure, file the edges again of your French tip, and you will get a really, really nice clean design. And I lied, that wasn't the final step because I forgot that we added a few little bling gems, but that ain't nothing. This is the main part of the final step, is filing the free edge of those French tips. It is a game changer. I did not used to do this, and I used to like my French tip, but I didn't love it, and now I love it. So if you feel like you need to file like a little bit of the sides of the nail, the free edge for sure, but you're good to go ahead and do that, and just you'll see at the end when I show the nails, fire. I didn't show me adding the bling, but there's the little bling stones on the rest. But look how good they turned out, like so neat, so clean. And I would definitely get these, but the girls are eating these up. I've done these so many times, and I'm going to keep doing them, but I don't mind because they're adorable. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to comment, like, and please subscribe if you want to be entered into the giveaway. So yeah, 500 subs and we're there. Love you guys.